Good evening, everyone. Tui and I welcome you to our continuing work with the vigil, alert to undercurrents and to the forces which, moving now so close to the physical plane through the ethers, are causing danger and disruption. Some of you probably know that, well, you call it a kind of a copycat situation, but that a number of the state houses in different states are being attacked, not in the same way, not to the same scale, but also in this kind of war of we the people. I listen to some of the people, who, the red hats, so to speak, we the people, against the government, which has, they believe, taken from them, stolen from them, so there's a sense of grievance. And I suppose that sense of grievance exists in any hierarchical system when the people who have not yet worked their way up into clear thought look on at those who have, some of whom abide by the good, and some of whom take advantage of the people of lesser accomplishments. So, in a way, they do feel maybe rightfully deprived in some cases, but we are dealing here with a full, though unsuccessful, insurrection. It's not exactly a protest, is it? And it's a riot, but it doesn't stop there. It was an armed insurrection. People died. And the governmental center of the United States was placed in danger. And the leaders, senators, and members of the House of Representatives had to take shelter on the floor and beneath desks until they were shepherded to some kind of safety at an undisclosed position. So, well, the planets are interesting. The beast, and I think that's what we witnessed. Usually with mob psychology, you do witness the beast, is known as the 666, which means that the entire personality is ruled by desire. And as you know, that is the symbol for Mars. Mars is, when used in a lower way, driving people berserk so that they lose their heads and are proud of it, actually. You see the number of people who are proud of what they did yesterday to desecrate one of the great temples of democracy in the world. The 666 was released, and it could be just the beginning. The Christ just said, I come to bring not peace, but the sword, so that we can better in time discriminate between the dweller on the threshold and the angel. And I think we're seeing that unfold before our eyes. The authoritarian personality, which I think is the stage of development characterizing many of the people who desecrated the Capitol, uh, always looks for some embodied leader or some blazing ideal, however narrow it may be. In the present president, for yet another 13 or 12 days, they seem to have found their leader, and rationality does not enter in. And of course, the leader is a shameless manipulator. Now, there is great fury, even, talk about Martian qualities among both of the parties, the more thoughtful types, let's say, and not the craven, cowardly types. By the way, the story is that, after saying, I'll march with you, the man hid in his motorcade and didn't do anything of the kind. But there is a kind of a fury and an outrage now. Look at that. An outrage from both parties. And there, in the few days that remain, a strong consideration of the danger of a man who is not fit and unwell psychologically, as even some of the Republicans are saying. So the idea comes up of invoking the 25th Amendment, which deals with the incapacitation of the president. But of course, it has to be initiated by the vice president, and there's no telling whether that is actually going to occur, or impeachment for the second time, which would make history, and probably there is not time for it, or merely censure, which is like wagging your finger and saying, bad president, But that doesn't carry much weight. Anyway, the decision of what to do, rather than in a superficial Geminian manner, of course, Gemini can be extremely deep, but in this case, the personality of the United States can simply want to move on and act as if this never happened. And yet it could be just the beginning of what we saw happening with the Axis powers as they took over. Of course, they were duly elected, and everything they did was apparently legal, and it was slower. This is a direct attack, and breathtaking, and astonishing. So many people said, I never thought I would see this in the United States. But it can happen anywhere. And as Benjamin Franklin being asked what was the best form of government, he said, a republic, if you can keep it. Because there is the beast in the human being. The lower instinctual nature is inherently selfish, and the Christians, they call it old Adam, the unredeemed aspect of our nature. It does exist. We all have our shadow, and what we're looking at here is the national shadow, and if we carry it further, we could be seeing the shadow of all humanity, which we name the dweller on the threshold. I suppose the question for us, trying to hold firm for the next 13 or 12 days, whatever it is, I think to the 20th, and today's the 7th, about 13 days, is what do we do? How do we stand in spiritual being so that the higher powers can descend through us and work upon the situation? And how do we carry this on so that the psychological rehabilitation of humanity can proceed? Because surely we are in need. There is no critical thinking going on. When I say critical, I mean, careful, logical, fair, impartial thinking going on amidst the rabble, the super excited mass consciousness that you see in front of you at this time. And the days are, with a psychologically abnormal, today, a very high official, I'm not saying I'm the only one who said so, certainly not, but he named the individual as a psychopathic narcissist. Now think about those words, please. Psychopathic narcissist. And this is coming from a very high level of governmental expertise. So not only is the United States in a critical situation and will remain so even after the departure of the menace, but the influence on the world and on the strongmen, the dictators, the totalitarians could be encouraged. Remember that the Black Lodge consists mostly of first-ray souls with third-ray monads, or those who have the first ray as a major subray on the soul level. And even when the second ray does exist, it deludes people. So that, as we've often mentioned, if you take that left-hand path, you can become the destroyer of souls, ray 1, the deluder or misleader of souls, ray 2, or the manipulator of souls, ray 3, and then with modifications for the rays of attribute. So, as I mentioned yesterday, obviously, Tui and I have been having these kind of discussions before we get into the meditation. Watch out for the second blow. And after the good fortune, well organized and well planned, which conferred upon 2 blue representatives in Georgia the senatorship, this happened not long afterwards. Watch out for the second blow. And whenever there's a blow, it's always the second blow. It's the thing that comes next. Never let your vigilance down. And we all do, we're just human. But these are special circumstances. This mob of 666 is not to be told I feel for you. I love you. I understand you. You are special. That's not the right way to deal with the forces of evil and disruption let loose upon the experiment by Master R to see if a United States of America, United States of Europe, etc., can be put together to bring unity to the nations of humanity. We must now stand in spiritual will, in spiritual being, with the vortex open, or the funnel, as it were, so that the vortex of correction can descend and proceed to be a strong hand in the dark. Who's to say what kind of darkness can descend upon humanity at this time? We just don't know, but it requires courage from everybody. Now, there's that old story about the Axis powers, when they came for X, I looked the other way, and they took him away. And when they came for Y, I looked the other way, and they took him away. And they came for Z, and I looked the other way. And then they came for me, and there was no one to look out for me. So you see what can happen when the rage of Mars, fear and terror, are released mindlessly. You see it. And we'll be seeing a lot more of it, and the question is, can anything be done in these next days, and should anything be done? Now, Tuya, do you want to say something, or should we look into the what's said in the chat box? Okay, so, and yes, of course, we know that, well, there is the possibility of disobedience. Trump has the keys to release a nuclear warhead. That, you know how they have to do it. They have to go through a series of numbers. I say 5, you say 5. I say 6, you say 6. And there is the strong possibility that the armed forces know we're dealing with an unstable.
Michael, maybe I say that Jan has been writing, what's the word healing to be used often now by many, especially the coming administration. It's such a great need, and I really agree. And I think that, are you not tired, everyone now? Exhausted? Yeah. I really can, what is that, agree with that it has been such a past weeks, this concentration. And then when you constantly hear the screaming and violence and putting down the others and disrespect, and then after for a while you become to be so filled with this energy that one just needs the coolness, the peace. And as we know that there is, yes, so tired, says Jan as well.
But of course, we,
Yeah.
it's true.
I'm
It's
coming
true.
there. I'm coming there.
But
I'm coming there, Michael. So that it's like that the whole planet is exhausted at the moment. So strong are those powers. That is only telling us that this kind of thing cannot happen if there is not powers involved, forces involved. And then in this unconscious humanity, there are those who are responding to that kind of energies. So, and that's why we cannot let go. We just have to continue standing. And it is such a good point of rehearsal, because think about that, if there would be a real war. So there are now groups which are causing these problems and disturbances in what's such a miniature scale, even though they are thousands now, but still, if we would compare that there would be a war, let's say that it would be a real civil war in United States, or then there would be other countries involved. This would be much more exhausting. So that's why it is very important for us to understand why this is happening, and yet we have to push forward in that sense that our ranks are not breaking up. We have to keep on going, and we have to share the love between us. We have to be standing together the way that the higher energies can be working through us. And it is also a wonderful moment to study what is working, what kind of inner work is working, and in what parts one needs to learn more. And actually, everyone should be keeping a diary and mark down. That is what DK was advising during the wars, his disciples, to write down. And I'm worse in this. I am just awful in that. I am just all the time thinking that I'm writing down, and that's why I just want to remind everybody else, please remember to write down your experiences. So Anne has here her hand up. So Anne, just unmute yourself.
Okay, I thought I would offer my voice this time. I just wanted to say that I was very inspired yesterday by the fact that Congress resumed their work. And part two to that is, you may have seen in the news, they gave credit to whoever it was that grabbed the electoral, I guess I'll call them certificates. During the chaos, someone thought to pick up the hard copies of the state's electoral votes and bring them with them so they could resume their work. So that was just the fact that they resumed and moved forward was inspiring on a very dark day.
Yeah, that's good. I was, we're here in Finland quite a few hours ahead. I stayed up till 8 o'clock in the morning, but they didn't conclude their work until about 3 hours later. And it was interesting how, you would see the videos of it, right? And interesting how even-minded or even-voiced or neutral or non-reactive Mike Pence was. At the edge of the precipice, a few of the leaders who have been aiding and abetting got a hold of themselves. And thank goodness that is the case. So some people did have presence of mind, but when you see our senators and representatives lying on the floor under their desks, while behind them guns are drawn and windows are being smashed, this was pretty close. You can only, well, one of the leaders of the mob had said, "We're going to go right in to the into the Congress, and we're going to start shooting." Okay, and here I just listened to a nice lady from some place or other, and she was, "Are you proud of what happened yesterday?" "Oh, I'm really proud," she said. "We should have, but we didn't stop soon enough. I mean, we stopped too soon. We should have gone in and drug them out by their hair," she said. Just a nice, average, non-aspiring person, whatever, and she wouldn't have been happy unless the senators and the reps were drug out, it's in the wrong English, drug out by their hair. So you can see what kind of emotions can be released. Now remember that Mars has 2 satellites, isn't it? Phoebus, wait, what's it called? I can't hear you, dear. Demos and Phobos. Fear and terror. Demos and Phobos. You know, whether there's a lot of occultism around that stuff. But this is what we can see released when the beast is released. And your average nice person gets these really, really violent thoughts. And this is, a lot of people have been saying, well, look, the genie's out of the bottle. You can't put the genie back in. At the same time, we have to make sure that more of that violence does not come out. So I really hope that over the next couple of days, there is not a discontinuity about all this, but the people really move on carefully, step by step, in deciding what can be done on the outer level to protect the nation and to protect humanity. I appreciate, Anne, your thoughts. I didn't realize that, but you can only imagine if all of those official papers had been stolen, scattered, whatever, you can only imagine. Yes, well, thank you for that. And yeah, and as you said, Yvonne, what are you going to do? I mean, if people cannot distinguish truth from lie, if they believe everything the leader says, what are you going to do? It's not rationality at a moment like this that is going to prevail. First, it has to be discipline. Maybe internally, there can be the attempt to reach out to the souls of those involved. But this is chaos, and that's how the Black Lodge works, right to you. Chaos and fear.
It is what he says that Black Lords always create confusion. That always there is a hierarchy, there is clarity, and clarity of thought and action. But where is Black Lords, there is confusion and surely the chaos. And we can see what kind of confusion this is creating into the whole country, into the whole world. So yes, Joanna, you have your hand up. Please unmute yourself.
I just wanted to bring up that I just happened to catch a Republican senator from South Carolina who's brand new, was sworn in day before yesterday, and she had brought her children to DC to witness this historic event. And on Monday, she was listening to the rhetoric of the people around Trump and what they were saying. And she said, my mother's heart told me I had to send my children home. She put them back on an airplane and sent them back to South Carolina. She said, I'm so grateful I listened to my heart and my mind. And even though I had questions that maybe the election was not handled properly, she said, this was not the way to go about it. We were about to initiate that process, and there were numbers of us about to speak, and we could not because of the violence. So, and she was appalled at the violence. So
I saw that same clip.
Yeah.
A very rational young woman, very bright and very intuitive.
And it was like she was the hope. She's a young senator. She's just beginning, or a young congressman, I guess. Anyway, I was pleased with what she said.
And when we think about it in principle, that it's only the difference of opinions. It doesn't matter. One can be for that person and the other one, the other person. But that kind of huge hatred is generated because the other one is looking into things differently, and that shows when it goes in this modern time to that, as I referred earlier, there are forces involved. This is nothing normal. People to create such a violence because of nothing. If I say nothing, because of the different opinion of the others, and they want to kill people because of that. So that's why we when this is over, I think we should think about what could be then still do by the disciples. I think that one thing is in a really concrete level that one should emphasize a lot of demand that this kind of debate education is taken into the schools, that people will learn to handle different ideas and different thoughts, but still express them just calmly. Everybody can be truthful, so that this is everyone's right. There is not right to think this way or to act that way and bring so much hatred into the society.
The sixth ray, well, some people feel that the rising sign of the United States is Sagittarius, the same sign that brought us the Spanish and the Italian Inquisitions. Dane Rudhyar wrote about this, famous astrologer, and basically he says there's a certain kind of a sadism which goes along with the lower expression of the sixth ray through Mars and through Sagittarius. And we're witnessing this. This is a big part of the shadow of humanity. See, some of this is just built into what this middle kingdom is, the human, between the animal and the angel. And that's why, when Lincoln referred to our better angels in his second inaugural address, well, there's a great initiate, an avatar, a racial avatar with a Ray 2 monad and a Ray 2 personality, probably though a Ray 1 soul. It's an entirely different expression. And he had, I believe, I worked his chart out, Sagittarius rising. But it was an entirely different thing. It was a great visionary, you see. So somehow the principles of the ageless wisdom, which you just read every year the reappearance of the Christ and what he will teach, reincarnation, hierarchy, as Master Moria says, must we shout it in your ears? Hierarchy, he says. That whole idea of a spiritual meritocracy, not just born into wealth, born into privilege. No, you earn your way. And the Buddhists, they call it merit, okay? None of these thoughts are common in the mass mind. And again, when it talks about what we can do, this is where we come in over the centuries ahead to somehow instill in the mass mind a bridge into a more enlightened hierarchical picture of what's really going on. This is how we can work. And, we really have to know how to work.
Michael, there are lots of comments. Maybe
Are there? Okay. Let's see. Here's from Francis. Am I correct? Wait, no, wait a second. Yvonne is.
If you
wait a second.
if you go from bottom to up, then you will read everything.
Okay, so Trump has suggested to aides he will pardon himself on a new ticker tape right now. Okay, let's see how that goes. Because to pardon oneself is an assumption of guilt. Let's see how that works. And of course, it doesn't affect the state level. And here's from Heike. After the war in Germany, there was nothing in the education about the happenings because of shame and because no healing happened. That came much later into education. So I think healing is a very important step on all levels. And, you know, Joe Biden has so much rapport. You can see in how he wants to operate. And it is one of the first of the healing rays that will be released into humanity in various techniques. So yes, but at the same time, you know, it's a difficult issue. Healing, yes, and standing on principle, yes. Clear seeing, yes. Healing is a complicated issue, just like peace is. Peace is not just the absence of war, as they say. So there's so much that goes into it. We agree, surely, and it is something that has many steps involved in it, and we can begin thinking of those terms. So thank you for your thoughts. Trump has suggested to a, yeah, right, okay. Francis, relationship between individualism, libertarianism, comes distrust of government and hostility towards it, especially in the Deep South section of our country. It's almost like a human being, you know, the lower chakras below the diaphragm, the Mason-Dixon line. So, you know, much in effect in the Civil War. It's like the diaphragm of the country. So, you know, there is a replication of higher chakras and lower chakras, and people are gathered into nations for many reasons and into sections of nations. And of course, the whole thing goes back to Atlantis anyway. So we probably, you know, are not going to know the true causes here, but we do know there is a difference in when souls come into incarnation, and different periods of individualization occur, and thus different spans of experience occur. So some people just have more experience than others, and they've learned the hard way. Now, you know, individualism and libertarianism, it depends on how we define those words, but suffice it to say that individualism seems so, I don't know, individuality is one thing. Individualism is a lower grade of it. And libertarianism, it depends on how you define it, you know. So do you want to say anything about that, Francis, in your definitions? Or should we just look at it and say, well, these are factors: individuality, individualism, libertarianism, and license too, just license, you know. Go ahead. Go on, Francis.
That was the second comment following my first one, which was that I just, in trying to understand all this, I noticed a reference to a book by Colin Woodard called The American Character, how there's always been this battle between the common good and individualism. And he explains the origin of different regions in the country that came on, and how that thread has remained up to the present. And an evil character in the White House played on those divisions and fueled it up. So this is not just something that occurred now or recently. It's several hundred years. And Michael, as you said, goes back to Atlantis. So there is this thread of communitarianism versus individuality. And we all feel that the government is needed to ride herd on oligarchy and to protect the rights of the individual. But these are forces that have been present. But I do commend to anyone this book, Colin Woodward, American Character. It's quite illuminating.
Thank you, Francis. Sorry.
60-year-old political historian out of Maine. Thank you.
When I start from below to above, I'm reading backwards. So, okay. Okay. Thank you. And yes, the wake-up call, says Yvonne. Well, let's hope. I mean, you know, to see some of our senators go back into the chamber and pursue as if nothing happened the attempt to discount the legitimately tallied state electoral rosters. Just shocking. Well, and of course, some pulled back, and they were chastened. That word, it means chastised, basically. You understand the error of your ways. And others whose ambition, very, very powerful, just continued with what they were planning to do. But they are free to do so, of course. Now, let's see. What else have we here? We have Joanna, and then Jesse, I think. Yes. Although hard to watch. Yeah. They've been a little bit soft pedaling that the woman who was killed was actually an Air Force veteran. Was that it? You kind of wonder what she was, doing right in the front there, trying to, get into the Senate chamber, was it? Yet I think some people are now questioning their support of Trump, which is positive, and it seems necessary to wake people up. I mean, what will it take? The people who are calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked, the incapacitation usually for physical reasons, but also maybe for psychological reasons, are saying, what will it take? What will it take? That's this ongoing question. Are we all, what do we have here? The American mule or something? You say you have to, the old story, you have to hit a mule on the head with a 2x4 just to get his attention. What will it take? So, how slow are we to learn? And then Jesse, the character of people in various regions is often played upon, by politicians for their personal benefit. And this has been happening, well, since the beginning of our republic, and it's it's the way that the two aspects of man interact.
Yvonne
And
has her hands up.
what, dear?
Yvonne.
Yvonne.
has-
Yvonne, yeah. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Mitt Romney, and I saw him again this morning saying this, and what will it take? What will it take? And he said, what it will take is for you to tell the truth to your constituents and not lie to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard him say that. He has a certain righteous indignation, and he's been on the losing side, but, he's always a gentleman. It's just an entirely different class of person. He's lost twice, okay? But he's not perfect. None of us is. But he puts the country first. And of course, this is just the beginning of group consciousness, isn't it? When you put the larger aggregation ahead of your own personal wants. That's how are you going to open those sacrifice pedals, anybody, if we don't sacrifice? We have to, the whole story is told in the opening of the egoic lotus. And as you know, I've written a book on that, which is a video book. And basically, pedal after pedal, different challenges come up, regardless of what your astrology may be. You can have a whole range of astrology for each pedal, and different pedals can last as much as millions of years in their opening, or as few as just a few years in their opening as we get to the top of it. And it's a great way to look at human psychological history, is to study the egoic lotus. Where are people? Now, some of the very ambitious yet selfish people are in the middle or the early part of the fifth petal. It's the Leo petal, it's the Scorpio petal. And when Scorpio finally begins to undermine the worst excesses of the selfish Leo aspect, then you have the beginning of the suffering and the possibility of becoming an aspirant, a disciple, and even an initiate of the first degree. And, you know, I think we've all been through that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be dedicating our lives to some theme in line with the divine plan. You know, we've been there, and one day we'll be able to trace the whole thing, and probably with a bit of shock concerning what we ourselves may have done along the way. But that doesn't excuse those who are presently inflicting harm upon the whole of humanity through their excessive egotism. So, crazy like a fox. Well, there is a certain DK. He gives us 8 stages of psychological development, and animal cunning is one of the early stages. It's very foxy, and it's instinctually selfish and smart. Clarity into who DK and his political and others supporters are is critical in our evaluation. We're not going to know the esoteric roots, although we might be able to intuit a little bit where all this comes from. For me, when I look at this, I say this is coming from Rome. That's what it tells me, which was the time when the Lodge of Darkness was very strongly in expression, again under Aries and under Leo. But, you know, we all have to do our research. Anyone want to say anything further? Dear, I can't hear you.
I think in the beginning you lost something. So Yvonne said Trump has the key to release a nuclear warhead.
Yeah, I said that. I got that one.
Then Francis, oh, you did?
Yeah.
And Facebook has blocked.
Yep. Well, that one, that's interesting because Twitter has not. But Facebook and Instagram, you know, they're good for at least another couple of weeks. And then everything changes, of course, because the sort of presidential preference is no longer possible, but they've basically shut them off now for a couple of weeks. And that's something. And you do wish that, I don't know why Twitter, which is his preferred method of riling and communicating. Yeah, it's been a day or something. They blocked him for a day or half a day or something like that. Now, what else here? Maria Rosa. Okay. Maybe because of the fact that all this has happened and the risk involved for all, the USA will see new allies from other nations to arise that will stand by it more firmly and cooperate more closely in the times of right ahead in defense of higher values. Excuse me. Let me just get this straight. In defense of higher values to the extent possible. The soul of the USA must be probably felt by other nations too, wanting it to really be able to light the way. Yes, well, you know, so many of our trusted allies have been reduced in priority, and dictators have been coddled because of psychological deficiencies in the man. So maybe we can have a return to and even an improvement in the nature of alliances of those people who really will work with the soul of their nation. So thank you, Maria Rosa. Oligarchs have gotten richer, yes. Francis. U.S. stock market doing well today. So as long as groups fighting each other leaves the oligarchy alone, well, they don't need Donald Trump any longer, really. Well, the Christ says, the rich and the poor you will always have with you. I wonder what always really means, because there is a tendency of intelligent people who have worked their way up to a certain level of proficiency to use it for themselves first. But then, along came someone like Franklin Roosevelt. What did the group surrounding him say? He is a traitor to his class, they said of him. And DK calls him that great disciple, Franklin Roosevelt, because he was an Aquarian with Virgo rising and the moon in Cancer. And he had a feeling for the little guy, as it were, the humble worker. And he worked to reestablish the dignity of such people in a time of economic hardship, when the robber barons basically want to take everything you've got, and so what? Okay. So there are those people who reach high level of attainment, and instead of just grabbing for themselves, okay, they give back. Now let's see, what else have we got here? In ancient Rome, says Lorraine, Julius Caesar also had lawsuits pending against him that were held off as long as he was in office, as with DT. Oh, Caesar. Have you seen the marble busts of Caesar? Interesting, very interesting face. He had a very strong mixture of Capricorn and Cancer, and his character was defined with great cruelty and aggression, as well as subservience and, sort of sexual ambivalence. And he was quite a character, but extremely intelligent. And he had not yet, like Akbar. Akbar was rough, but Akbar and Charlemagne, they were great leaders. Solomon, great leader. And they created culture in their courts. Centers of learning, centers of beauty, centers of music and art. Not so much Caesar. He had not reached that point. But interesting. Okay. Yes, Akbar was an earlier incarnation of Master M. And as with Solomon, and sometimes I'm wondering about Charlemagne and Moses. I think Philip Lindsay and I are both agreeing about Moses and Master M. He's the, very good historian esoterically. So some of these characters have shown up in various places where they learned a lot. Akbar was not an easy man, but he was wide and inclusive. We were in, where was it, to Agra, long ago, at the time of the Shambhala impact. And Akbar had 3 major wives and many concubines, but one was Hebrew, one was Christian, and the other was Muslim. And his symbol was King Solomon's seal, the 6-pointed star, which he put on his buildings. So this is an early version of what Master M became. After all, they've gone through everything we have and come out the other end successfully. Is there anything else? What, dear? Oh,
There
yeah,
are some comments.
Jesse. Oh, yeah. And Jan. More than 100 members of Congress called for Trump's removal. Is that, must be very recent. Is that it? Is it so? From today, Jan, perhaps. Because I hadn't read that. Well, he may have. I'm told about the three major wives, as they were called. Did Akbar have a Hindu wife too? I'm not sure, but I do know he sought to consolidate the
He
warring
had,
groups.
I think he had 600.
Well, that was concubines, dear.
Nee, that's right.
That's different. Those are not wives.
But they still.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I guess he could still walk and conquer countries, so probably. Okay. Yes, just now it happened, says Jan. 100 called for his removal. Well, let's see. They must not drop the ball at this point. Excuse me, I'm just taking a look here. Just to say, Francis, the amount of money that DT, etc., et al. has helped to has helped themselves to has to go into the hands of the uber rich will only be known several years from now, but we get the idea. Okay. It will all out, you know. And let's see here. Tia is saying on CNN today there was a former government official who hinted that there exists classified information regarding the fact that Donald Trump is mentally unfit for office, like Woodrow Wilson, who suffered before him, who suffered a severe decline in his cognitive function after contracting the Spanish flu. I wonder if Donald Trump has suffered the same fate after contracting COVID-19 and receiving all of the experimental treatments to hasten his return to the campaign trail and diminish the severity of the symptoms of the virus. So, okay, that's interesting, and I wonder. Interested. Asha, my feelings, AB Master M are changed somehow, methinks. I'm not sure my feelings, AB Master M, about Master M are changed somehow. Well, you know, we work our way up. And Jesse, if they designate him as mentally unfit, he will not be able to be charged with various crimes. Bad choices. And Asha is being facetious. Okay. Okay. And have I missed anything? That's interesting because there are 100 senators and over 400 representatives, so 100 is 20 to 25%. Well, you know, that's Diane. They need, if they invoke Amendment 25, and he writes back and says, I'm perfectly in my own right state of mind, then it has to be taken up and only will be passed with 2/3 of both houses, and there's only 13 days left. But let's see what they have in mind. Let's see. And Yvonne here, yeah, Pence can pardon him, but I think Pence is up against his conscience now. His conscience and his ambition, both together. Let ambition rule and the doors stand wide. By the way, so many Geminis, the place is running over with Geminis. William Barr, Michael Pence, Donald Trump, just a bunch of them. And, representing in many ways the personality of the United States. It's a great sign. It's a huge second-rate sign, but there's also the early part of it. And is this a before or after picture? I don't know. Birth is always painful, says Asha. Mother and child are always fine. Yesterday was Epiphany. Well, I hope there's great realization. And Christ moves in mysterious ways. And death is part of his movement. Tia, you say this is not entirely true. The bar for mental unfitness, insanity is quite high. Well, probably. He may be able to delay prosecution based on mental unfitness, but not avoid it. Okay. Well, let's study karma as the next couple of years unfold. And it is the birth of the Christ in the human heart that is the first initiation. That's the birth we are interested in for all of humanity. Jesse says, yeah, okay, well, we're talking about the insanity defense here. That's another matter. And let's see. Some press members this morning were complaining Pence was nowhere to be seen or heard from. I'm sure he's in a very pressureful and ambivalent situation. He's supposed to be a religious man, a man of conscience. Let's see how that works out. And I guess we all have a lot to say here. This morning, nowhere to be seen. Tia, true. Yeah, okay. Just the practical side. Maybe he's asleep from last night, huh? Senate works until, 4 a.m. Well, we're living in historic times, and it is the example of Christ saying, I bring not peace but the sword. If discrimination does not enter at this point to tell what is good and what is toward the left-hand path, what will it take? Anything more to you? Okay, I don't hear you.
Yes, no, I don't have. I just think that I think we should move to the meditation.
Do know that we have to keep going, don't we? This is when you see the mob, you know you have to keep going.
So we move into meditation. And we will use these colors quickly today. And then we will stand in silence and work with similar ways that we are, but I try to make it through about half an hour. So let us all first just center in and sending our blessings to all these people who have been involved. I hope my computer didn't froze. So let us imagine how we are purifying, cleaning away all frustration. Maybe we first, before we go into meditation, have a short reflection of one of the DK's meditation where he is asking to create a triangle between him and our soul and mind. A triangle. And seeing that this tip at the peak of the triangle is touching our head, and through that is pouring light, orangey light, and that we are I do not have any image, Michael. I can move, sorry. I was just taking this because I'm sensing that people are tired. So this is refreshing everybody. Seeing that through this triangle pours the golden orangey light, which is showering and filling our aura. And we bathe in it like we would bathe in the waters of the sea. And we leave the rest to the Master DK. So now we are refreshed in our mind and in our lower bodies, and we are ready to work. Let us now consciously align with our triangle work members, all our co-workers around the world. And we are linking strong network of disciples. We are united, and let us remember what DK says about healing, that how the healing from hierarchy is pouring in, is pouring via the joy and love. So let us find this joy within all of this, and love within all of this. Love which underlies the happenings of the time. This too will pass. It will be balanced. Our job is to help in this moment of being on the scale, the soul of United States is seeking now the ways to become stronger. That is why we are here. That is why we are working. The task of all aspirants and all men of goodwill everywhere is to see that prolonged suffering does not undermine the present right and essential attitudes, and that the chaos and clamor noise does not shut out response to the voice of the soul. In our creative imagination, we place ourselves where we have been standing. We strengthen that again around the governmental triangle. We keep on standing. We align with our soul and create a triangle between the soul, mind, and brain. And there is direct and free inflow from the higher self to the lower. We align with the solar angel and the solar angel of United States. We align with the Dharma of United States. I light the way. We stand as a great army of implacable spiritual will to love. In order that we can work effectively, find the silence of a loving heart. In that silence, we find the Christ. And let us dedicate in His name ourselves and in His mission. We have gathered in your name. Lord Maitreya, be with us. Let us welcome his presence. We align with the army of the Christ, with the forces of light. All these forces which are ready to help if we just invoke them. Contact with Master R, the regent of America and Europe. For a minute, communicate consciously with this great Master. And now we will use the colors the way that we rather quickly go through them, using our creative imagination. We call upon the white light and see the white light pouring in and purifying everything, everything what is on the way of the soul. Fulfilling the aura of the group. Governmental triangle. White House. Capitol. Supreme Court. And the whole country. violet light. We invoke violet light and imagine in our creative imagination. It fills the aura of the group. Governmental triangle. White House. Capitol. Supreme Court. And the whole country. Transforming everything for the benefit of the soul. Now we call upon the rose light, the higher aspect of the personality ray of United States. Bringing forth the aspiration for the soul life. Feeling the aura of the group, pouring in into the triangle, governmental triangle. White House. Capitol. Supreme Court. The whole country. Beautiful rose light. We invoke the soul ray of United States, the second ray, flow indigo light. We see in our creative imagination the indigo pouring into the aura of the group. Filling everything into the governmental triangle. White House. Capitol. Supreme Court. And the whole country. manifesting the soul values, the ways of the soul, the purpose of the soul. We call also the angelic help, the Archangel Michael, and his forces of protection. Guarding every single corner and doorways. That no illegal actions can come in or any negativity. Protecting the Christ consciousness. Visualize him standing and his forces, creating the protective energies around the covenantal triangle. And if you know any other place that you would like to call his forces, please do so. Let us now 2 minutes be in silence, holding the mudra of turning of the wheel. And as a group, very strongly, let us work now, turning the wheel from the old towards the new. And using strongly our creative imagination, creating a new world, new life, and starting in this inauguration, totally new way for United States and for the whole world. 2 minutes. We will work now for protection for this whole process again, using these 7 streams of fire. We can hold the mudra if we want, and in deep alignment with the inner work of protection. Let us create before ourselves in our creative imagination a wheel of fire with 7 spokes. We see ourselves and the inner working group standing in the center, at the hub of the wheel, which radiates all living, all consuming substance of love in 7-fold fields. Imagine that how yourself and the group, as if we were that hub. From that central position, we send out 7 streams of living fire, radiating upon the world, upon the governmental triangle. Let us work 5 minutes. Let us be aware how we are all united. We are the hub. This is one of the protections that Tibetan has been given. Let us visualize how these protective streams are covering the whole area of the governmental triangle. This wheel is spinning all these protective energies and keeping away all the impulses, all the tiniest ripples from the forces which try to prevent and stop the soul expression, which are bringing separatistic ideas. All that is stopped. Chased away. Recognize the shift that we have been taking as a group, and we are working together. Now turn around and let us face the world and radiate this rainbow-colored field of fire. And this is expanding and expanding. All rainbow colors, pouring and pouring. We hold that in our consciousness. And now see the Christ above the triangle. And let our clarion call go forth. We are standing for the good law. We are demanding good law to be followed, the Constitution to be respected. We demand protection for all those people who are working for United States for the correct ways, respectful ways, honorable ways. And for 1 minute, we again stand. And we are creating even stronger and clearer vacuum for fusion and union of the group, opening this funnel of invocation. 1 minute. Great invocation number 2.
Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, O Mighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O Mighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O Mighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end.
And for the end, let us still aligned. I light the way. Let us vision the new dawning, the new beginning for United States and from the soul, from the heart of this great being, beings the light to whole country. May thy will be done, not ours. Many blessings to everybody, and thank you.